Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing SharkAnto55. Let's play e4 against him. A 2196. I got this game right away, as opposed to having to wait a while for most of my games. So he is 2196. Yeah, and peak rating of 2231. Let's play a mainline Sicilian knight f3. We'll go into the Open Sicilian and see what variation he has to throw at us. The Dragon. Okay, let's do it. Many of you may know this, but the Dragon is a very tactical opening that demands quite an extensive knowledge of theory. And it's widely considered that White's only way to try to get an advantage against the Dragon is with the variation I'm currently playing, the Yugoslav attack. And that involves White playing bishop e3, f3, queen d2 like this. And here there's two moves. There's castle's queenside and there's bishop c4. I'm going to play castle's queenside, which was actually a recommendation of the book Modernized, Open Sicilian by Amanov and Kavutskiy, which I reviewed on my channel not long ago. And against d5, they actually recommend queen e1. But I haven't investigated that recommendation in full. That book is 500 plus pages, and I have by no means managed to go through every single line there. So I'm going to play a line that I know better, which is e takes d5. And now taking on c6 and playing bishop d4. So that's the plan. After b takes c6, which is forced, White can take on d5 and then try to win a pawn, but Black has good compensation after queen c7. So bishop d4 is considered to be the principal try for an advantage for White in this position. Yeah, and now e5 and bishop c5. And usually they play bishop e6 because if White were to go and take the exchange, bishop takes f8, Black will get monstrous compensation on the dark squares and also against White's king and along the b file. So bishop e6 is the move, and knight e4 is typically played. Is it knight e4 now or is it h4 first? I think it's knight e4 now. I'm pretty certain. This is what you get when you're not a regular e4 player. You forget move orders. But I think it's knight e4. Yeah, it must be. Let's do it. So I don't want to trade knights. I mean, trading knights on d5 would only allow him to strengthen his structure. C takes d5. So I want to play this move. And this introduces the possibility of c4 later. This guy looks like an over-the-board player based on his picture. It looks like he plays tournament chess. Pretty good record in the 15-minute pool. 34 wins, 8 losses, 5 draws. 5-minute rating of 2262. What flag is that? That's the question. Is that the Croatian flag, dare I say? No. Could it be? I'm going to say it's either the Croatian flag or somewhere in South America. I know that sounds completely divergent, those two predictions. Like maybe like Costa Rica or something? I want to hover my mouse over that flag so bad. Let's just do it. Paraguay. Okay. Trying to get better at flags, guys. ICC affords us that possibility. You know, Paraguay was on the tip of my tongue too, I swear. The best player I know from Paraguay is Axel Bachmann. I believe that's what country he's from. Grandmaster Axel Bachmann, who's very strong. I think he's over 2,600 now. He went to a rival college of ours. I went to the University of Texas at Dallas, and we had an excellent chess program. We still do have an excellent chess program there. And he went to the University of Texas Brownsville, which is way in South Texas, like very close to the Mexican border. And we would play in college competitions, and he was one of the players I would play every once in a while. Axel Bachmann, not SharkAnto55. Okay, so I'm thinking knight e4 might not be the standard move order since he's taking this long. If knight e4 wasn't the standard move order, it's probably h4 then. h4 is another common move. I mean, I do intend to play h4 in an effort to play h5, but I really could have sworn that knight e4 first was the move. I don't see any drawback to the way I played it. I think they might even be interchangeable. The only reason I preferred knight e4 over h4 immediately was the possibility of queen a5. I like the fact that my queen on d2 is now eyeing the a5 square. So he plays rook b8. Okay, so he's maybe trying to do without the move h6. He's also still allowing bishop takes f8, which I'm not going to play, but is on the table as an option. I don't want to play this because he just gets such great play on the dark squares after queen takes f8. Bishop h6 would be one threat thereafter. I think I'll play h4 all the same. I think the line goes h4, h6, and then bishop c4. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, let's go h4. And I would definitely expect h6. Just a tit-for-tat response to cover the g5 square and make it so that if I play h5, he can push past with g5. Because if I had another move to play h5 myself, he would not have the option of pushing. Because I could take it, he wouldn't have the pawn on h6 supporting it. So h4, h6, I'll play bishop c4 more than likely. And then I'll do my best to remember what I'm supposed to do in this line. I had a game, it's probably in the database, against William Aramil is his name. I think he's a FIDE master. It was from a tournament in Las Vegas in 2006, I want to say, where I actually made an IM norm. My last IM norm, I believe. And we played this line. This is the only game I can recall I played in this line from the white side. I have no games from the black side, so only game in this line overall. f5 is pretty darn aggressive. So if I play knight g5, what is his plan? I hope it's not to play e4 and initiate bishop takes b2 and smash me. At any rate, I think this move must be played. So I will do it. I mean, if e4, I can always play c3 if necessary. The position is going to explode now, though. There's no doubt about that. I wonder if c3, if he's going to play queen a5. And just ignore the attack on f8. And try to mate me like queen takes a2. Yeah, this is a very aggressive way and principled way to play this. If I take on e6, by the way, he's taking on b2 check, king b1, and there's probably several moves that just outright win there. Like knight c3 check would be one move that wins. Queen takes c3, queen takes d1 mate. To say nothing of bishop discoveries. So I cannot take on e6, that's clear. I need to stop bishop takes b2 check. And c3 would be the obvious way to do it. But is that the best way? What about b3? It weakens my dark squares to no end, but at least that way I'm not allowing queen a5. My queen will still cover that square. b3 is, I mean, it's definitely a frightful move to have to make. But it might be better than c3, because I don't see an antidote to c3, queen a5, right now at least. Queen a5 is like fully in keeping with what black wants to do in this line, like play for the initiative and focus on counterattacks. Let me calculate that line for a second. So c3, queen a5, hitting the bishop, hitting a2. Let's say if I play bishop a3, he has, the very least, bishop takes c3. That's no good for me. If I play bishop takes f8, he'll play queen takes a2. If I take on g7, he has queen a1 check, and I'm getting mated. I'll show some of these lines after the game, because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to play c3. I could play bishop a3 right now, couldn't I? Aha, that might be the move. He has queen b6 then, though. But I have c4. And he has knight c3. But then the bishop is hanging. Bishop a3 is a nice move because it avoids like unnecessary weaknesses. But it does allow stuff like e3 as well. Tough choice. If c4, he can play like rook takes b2 or bishop takes b2. I don't like that. So I'm looking bishop a3 or b3, one of the two moves. It's really not a fun choice to make because I'm going to be weak either way. Okay, I've decided to go b3. The consequences of this move could be severe, but I don't see a way he can capitalize right off the bat. If knight c3, I know I could always take on c3 if necessary. And then let's say he takes on d1, I take with my king, he takes on c3, I have the capture on e6 at the end. Also conveniently covering d8. So I think I've got that covered. If bishop c3, I'll play queen takes c3. I would be more than happy to trade in exchange. So after bishop c3, queen takes c3, knight takes c3, rook takes d8, same thing. Like I'll be able to win the e6 pawn, or the e6 bishop, I mean. I think I'd be more than happy to do that. Say he takes with the f8 rook, knight takes e6, rook d1 check, king b2. I think I'm getting out of that. Knight a4 check, king a3, knight takes c5, knight takes c5. Ooh, he might have e3 at the end of that line, though. I have bishop c4 check, though. That's a very complicated line. He'd have to think about that. So instead he prefers this. I was thinking bishop d4 against this move. It's probably the only move. This queen a1 is prompting a response from me right now. Yeah, I think this is basically forced. Trades are good for me. I welcome trades with open arms. Just like Journey. That's a classic rock reference, just so you guys know. If queen e7, I was thinking king b2, but I might trade on g7 first. I'm not sure I want to allow queen takes g7. But I can go queen d4 then. Yeah, that looks fine. Queen e7, bishop takes g7. Queen a3 is met by bishop b2. So he would have to recapture on g7. I play queen d4. I'm still threatening e6, and I blocked his queen a1 mate threat. Oh, and by the way, he can play e3 in this position too. Against that, I was just thinking, move the queen, queen d3. But that could throw a spanner into the works of a lot of lines. He does play it. What if I just go bishop takes f6, e takes d2 check. Let's say rook takes d2. And, oh, he can take with his rook, though, and guard his bishop. Never mind. I was thinking he had to take with the bishop or the knight. I could take on e6. So that line's out of the question. Yeah, I must move my queen now. I've got options, though. Even queen a5 is an option. Kind of like queen a5. It's the least awkward of all my queen moves. And I already have d4 defended by the rook, so do I need to play queen d3 to defend it again? I don't think so. Yeah, queen a5 looks attractive. It also covers a3. Let's do that. Time-wise, I think we're both managing all right. He has a little bit more time than me, not much. Okay, so this move, I could play bishop c5, but I worry about queen f6 again. If queen f6, I'd probably have to repeat, because I'm not taking that rook on f8. No way. I mean, I get mated if I do that. So right here, I'm thinking about taking on e6. He takes with the queen. I take on g7. He takes with the king. And then maybe bishop c4. Still, I'm weak on the dark squares, though. And with this pawn on e3, he's always threatening mate. So bishop takes g7, he takes with the queen. Do I have any way around that? Because that mate threat is annoying, and I can't go king b1 because of knight c3. Maybe bishop c4 right now. Just develop. If he takes, I take with my rook. That looks okay. That looks all right. Okay, let's do it. Development. No captures quite yet. Just bring the last piece into the game. Last minor piece. Only thing is I might be allowing him a chance to play f4 and solidify the pawn on e3. But I am bringing about pressure on the diagonal. If f4, simplifications could occur. Okay, he's doing that, so I take. So I'm thinking if he moves queen f6 or queen g7, I take on e6 and drag his queen back to the e6 square so he can forget about anything going on the diagonal. So if queen be f6, knight takes e6, queen takes e6, bishop takes d5, c takes d5, queen takes d5, I'm forcing a queen trade. He'll still have that pawn on e3, that very strong pawn. But I am up a pawn myself at that point. I think I can manage in that rook endgame. I control the d file too, the only truly open file. I can manage there. If I get a free moment, I think f4 myself might be a good move. Something will happen on this diagonal, though. The tension will be most likely relieved soon. I would not be surprised to see queen f6 or queen g7. He might just give up a pawn in order to force me to take on e6. Let's say he plays queen f6 here. I wonder if it's out of the question to play c3. Just defending the rook, because my queen holds the pawn on c3, so there's no knight takes c3. Makes me nervous to do that, but it is something I'll look at. But for now, let's just have this line in mind that I can play on queen g7 is just horrible. I don't know why I was saying that earlier. Okay, he plays that. So this will be similar. I can take here if I want. This is actually a little bit different, because if he takes with the rook, I can maybe take with my rook on d5. He takes with the pawn, I take with the queen. Then I'm hitting f7 multiple times. And he's pinned. I like to see this move, for my purposes. Not a lot of time to calculate. I'm just going to take. Diving into this line. He'll take with the rook, I'm pretty positive. Queen takes would just be an outright blunder because of rook takes d5. And it doesn't make any sense to abandon the e-file, whereas queen is guarding the pawn on e3. So rook takes f7, rook takes d5, c takes d5, queen takes d5. The check doesn't bother us, king b1. So I'm thinking he'd probably play f4 there. And I could liquidate and just, you know, start pushing my queenside pawns. I could definitely do that. Rook takes d5 clears a lot of the cobwebs in the position too. I'm just wondering about the role of this f4 move. It's a desirable move in a lot of positions. I mean, just to rule out f4 from him is such a nice idea. Don't know that I want to risk it, though. Yeah, I don't like it. It gives him a chance to, like, even maybe move his king. I'm going to go for this line. I'll pre-move this capture on d5 with the queen. The only other move he has is e2, and I don't think he'll play that. If e2, rook e5 is winning for us. So he should probably play f4 now, because otherwise the e3 pawn becomes too weak. This is his trump in the endgame, in the pawn down endgame he's about to embark on. Okay, so he does that. That's interesting. Because now I can't take. I see. But I can play queen d4 here, whereupon I pin him, and I prevent f4 because I can play queen takes f4. Ooh, that's a nice move. I am instantly liking queen d4. Queen d4, he can go rook d8, though. Maybe rook e1 is better here. No, but then he moves his king. I'm going queen d4. We have 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. If he plays rook d8, I can take on f7 with check. He has to take with a king at that point. I can give another check if I want. I can also play queen c3 or queen f4 in this position. Now let's keep this simple. Let's take. And then assuming he takes with the king, I'm going queen c4.
Check.
We'll see if he wants to play queen e6. Queen e6 I can check. He's rook d7 then. He does not. Okay, rook e1. Rook e1 good. Still can't play f4 because I take with my queen. He's queen f6. Huh. Rook e1, queen f6. Let's give a check here first. Let's see where he goes. He's keen to avoid the checks. Okay, now if f4, what's going to happen? Maybe e2. I don't like the look of that. F4, E2, rook E1, queen A3, though. That's the problem. I think he B4 maybe is a decent move. Looks really weird, but it might be okay. I want to stop his queen from coming to A3, and I have to make a decision, so that's why I'm playing this move. Let's go here. Just make him think about what to do on the H file. If he pushes, I have queen check. Not sure it does much, though. Queen check, rook d6.
Check.
Play my queen to c5 then, maybe. have to make quick decisions now, so... If e2, I have rook e1. Queen f6, yeah. Let's go here. It's a weird position. Oh, rook c6. I missed rook c6. Yeah, that's not good by me. Yeah, this is immediately losing, isn't it? I lose the c3 pawn. Probably it's losing. Okay, I gotta go something like this. Can take with the queen. King b1. His king is not open enough. His queen like controls the rook on c6. Yeah, queen takes c3, king b1.
Check.
Can take on b4 with check. Rook there, huh? That's also probably good. Okay, let's do this. I don't see what else to do. Yeah. Just threatening promotion.
Time warning.
Yeah, this is over. I'll resign. That was a nice game by him. Nice play at the end, too, with the initiative. Rook d. I mean, I felt like I had a good position right here. Queen d4 might not be so good. This is a tricky position because rook d8, and I'm going up a pawn, but he has all these threats against my king. My king is never quite secure enough. I wonder what the engine thinks about that position. Yeah, I'm worse at that point. Even here I'm worse. Interesting. Okay, we'll go back and analyze it though. So this is all theory up to the point where I played knight e4 as far as I know. He paused for a long time, so I'm kind of thinking like maybe that was not the correct move and maybe I'm supposed to play h4. But it's been a while, so we'll see. And as I said, like white can win a pawn with knight takes d5 here, and then c takes d5, queen takes d5, queen c7. Problem is black gets a lot of play. Main idea being if queen takes a8, going after the rook, black has bishop f5 and threatens the pawn on c2. So it's considered to be fine for black, and I think a lot of black players actually like it if white takes on d5. So bishop d4, on the other hand, is the way to go. Now here, black has a variety of moves. In addition to e5, what he played, there's also bishop takes d4, queen takes d4, and then this move queen b6, which is pretty reliable for black, I think. And there's knight takes c3 too, of which I know next to nothing. So e5, though, is the main line. And then bishop c5, bishop e6. So if I take the rook on f8, I run into big trouble. Queen takes f8. One threat black has in this position is bishop h6, skewering the queen to the king. And it's generally accepted that black's compensation is fantastic here. I would not walk into this position if I were you. So knight e4, yeah, I thought this was the move, but he kind of acts surprised by this move. He spent like, 3 minutes on this move, finding his reply, which I would assume as a dragon player, if white plays this is pretty main line. But who knows, he might have just been trying to recall the theory. Yeah, I don't think like h4, nah, I'm pretty sure it's knight e4. So he played rook b8. I went h4 now. Yeah, c4 is possible, I guess. Rook e8. And if I try to win the knight here, I could run into problems down the c file. Yeah, or just in view of black's advancing pawns. Like let's say knight c3, d4, and white is firmly on the back foot in this position. So I played h4, and usually they play h6. And I believe the line goes g4, rook e8, G5, I think. G5, stopping any F5 business. H5, and then bishop C4. I think I've had this position before. Like 2006-ish. 2007, maybe. It could be G4 first before H4, but no, I think H4 is right. He played F5, inviting knight G5, but then this sharp move E4, opening up the attack on B2. Computer likes C3, but I was hesitant to do this because I thought Queen A5 could be really pretty tough to meet. Computer's thinking about it right now. I did not like the look of knight takes E6, queen takes A2, one bit. Because the symbol threat is queen A1, followed by queen or rook takes B2. I have queen C2. This looks really dangerous to me. I don't know, though. The position is pretty obscure. Rook FD8 is the best move? What? I guess if I take, then he has bishop
Check.
H6, because my knight can't come to G5 to block. Insanity. You guys tell I've been in an aggressive mood this week. Yesterday against Humpy Koneru, I played the Botanik variation, the Semislav, and today I'm playing this pretty sharp dragon line. I'm playing E4, which is a stretch in itself. So I played B3. I like B3. It seems like a good move. Queen F6. I played bishop D4. The engine prefers queen D4. Seems less natural to want to walk into potential discovered attacks. But I guess the point is the queen can't really move anywhere good because I'm covering both these squares. Aha. Wish I would have considered that. It didn't cross my mind. Knight C3. Queen takes F6. Rook takes F6. Bishop takes A7. Yeah. Again, it's hard for me to understand this position because it's so sharp. There's not a lot to grasp onto. Nothing positionally or strategically I can sink my fangs into. It's just a lot of calculation and evaluation of unbalanced positions. So queen d4 was worth considering, though. I played this, e3, and then queen a5. Peter still thinks the game is roughly equal. Queen e7, bishop c4. Looks like I made the right call with that move, huh? I needed to get developed. I didn't want to speculate on anything further until I at least had my rooks connected and my light square bishop out. So bishop c4, he took, I took. Bishop f7. Engine was also liking a rook move, rook bd8. I was happy to see bishop f7. I thought that this endgame would be sufficient for an edge. Computer says you should just prefer the mundane bishop takes d5. And don't worry about trying to pin the f7 rook to their king. Take, and then queen takes. Still think they have compensation with this e3 pawn. I mean, yeah, I'm up a pawn, but it's on the queen side, same place where my king is. It's going to take a long time before I'm able to advance my b and c pawns. Realistically, I can only do that when the queens are off the board. It's too risky to do otherwise. So I know the engine thinks white's clearly better here, but this would be an uphill battle for white to consolidate. Rook takes d5 is hard to resist, isn't it? Especially when you know you have queen takes d5. He played this move pretty quickly, though. He decided that that was the way to go. I was expecting f4. I thought that this would be played in anticipation of this endgame.
Check.
Which I was probably okay with playing. I was going to cut the king off, so black's king cannot cross the threshold on the d-file, and then start pushing my pawns slowly with the advance of my king, too, and hopefully keep this e3 pawn in check. Never allow it to get too dangerous. Always have the option of e2, rook e1. Rook f8 looks like a good move, though. And here I might have erred. Queen d4. I just played this move kind of on instinct. It looked good. I mean, I can no longer play this because he takes with the rook, so I wanted to threaten to take on f7, and I also wanted to keep my queen centralized, and I wanted to prevent f4, which it does a good job of, because if f4 I can take it due to the pin. So this move just, to me, it looks so natural, but the engine maybe won't like it so much. This rook d8 move is an annoying reply.
Check.
And then I took and tried to cash in. I guess I could drag the pin out a little bit, huh? Queen c3. Computer thinks this position is roughly equal. e2. Yeah, e2 is always annoying because if I play rook e1 in response, they have this queen a3
Check.
move. And if king b1, rook d1
Check.
is mating. And if queen b2, black has a typical tactic. Rook
Check.
d1, deflection. Rook takes d1,
Check.
take queen, king takes, and then take the queen on b2. Black wins. So that's the effect of my pawn on b3. It's always opens the door for queen a3 check from him.
Check.
So I took on f7, he took with a king.
Check.
I gave a check on c4, king g7.
Check.
I checked on c3, king h6. He played this all very quickly too, and that's impressive. Like he has 437, and back when he played rook f8, he had 518. So he made all of those decisions in 30 seconds. And all of them are the best moves according to the engine.
Check.
It's a pretty high degree of accuracy.
Check. Check.
You know, I'd be thinking about queen f6 at least for a moment or something like that, but b4 was probably also not good. I wanted to avoid rook e1 and then f4. That's what I was trying to avoid. It just seems really tough. The fact that I'm up a pawn, but the computer considers me to be considerably worse, clues you into to the extent of white's difficulties. This position is completely determined by the queens. If the queens are off the board, white has the advantage. With the queens on, though, white's suffering. I guess maybe I shouldn't be so categorical. Like with his king here, he might be able to go king h5 takes h4 in a lot of endings, but trust me, I would jump at the chance to trade queens in this position if I'm playing white. I would have loved to trade queens in the game. b4. This was just an effort to get rid of the queen a3 move, but I was falling apart at the seams after this. h5, just trying to expose his king a little bit. If he takes, like I gain some extra chances, maybe in attacking the h5 pawn, but g5 is very secure for him.
Check.
I gave a check. He played rook d6. I went queen c3. Yep, and queen f6. It's painful. Again, he's playing quickly too. Yeah, and I'm dead
Check.
now. Played rook b6. e2 is also strong. I think they both win pretty trivially. Because now it's equal material, but my king is completely shredded. His is nice and comfy here because he controls the 6th rank. And my queen cannot get to f8. And e2, and he's threatening to queen, and I can't do anything about that. So I resigned. Yeah, he conducted the game very accurately towards the end, because basically starting with move, I don't know, 24, 25, he played perfect for 11 straight moves with hardly any time elapsing on his clock. Yeah. It's surprising that, surprising how difficult white's position is in this ending. As soon as I take on f7, I'm a lot worse and just fighting for my life. So in retrospect, I would play queen c3 here. It's an interesting game. Definitely enlightening. If you have any experience in this line, definitely let me know in the chat. I'm just trying to think of ways I would improve in the future. Well, knowing this line better would be one way to improve, so I wouldn't be hesitant about a move like knight e4 on move 14. I guess I wish I would have considered that queen d4 move. Whoops, not queen takes d5. Queen d4. This might have been a game changer of a move. It's still very messy, though, especially if he plays this knight c3 response. But other than that, I mean, I'm not completely upset. I think I found some good moves, like queen a5 and bishop c4 and whatnot. It's just he outplayed me in the time pressure. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this Dragon game. I'll be back tomorrow with another 15-minute game. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.